Hi, I'm Dr. Sandi Queen with Queen Homeschool Supplies, and today I want to do this video that's part of a series on the frequently asked questions that we here at Queen Homeschool Supplies have gotten the most over the last 30 plus years that we've been publishing Charlotte Mason inspired curriculum at queenhomeschool.com since 1994. Our Discovering Nature and Science series and our Discovering History series, if you've used them, you know that they're both series that are based on incorporated living books. And living books are actually integrated into each volume so that you have one chapter each week to read, and that chapter of the story that's ongoing throughout the year is actually what introduces the topic that you're going to study that week. And they are done on different days. In the Discovering Nature and Science series, they are on Mondays. You'd read a chapter of the story, and then in the Discovering History series, you would read a chapter on Tuesdays. So the reading portion is broken up throughout the week and not, all the reading on one particular day for every subject. So the question I want to answer today is, what do I use to find the answers to the research and writing questions in those books? Because that is a frequently asked question. Another one that goes alongside that is, do you have specific places, specific books, specific websites that you recommend that my child uses for those things? First, let me answer that second question. The answer to that second question, do we have specific websites or books that we recommend that you use to do the research for each volume? And the answer to that is very simple: no. The reason we don't is because homeschooling families are all different, and they have different likes and dislikes as far as what they want their children to use to research. And some of that will be dependent on the child's age, but really it is dependent on the family in general. Some families like to use the internet exclusively because that is the day and age we live in. Others don't ever want to use the internet, and others prefer to use a mixture of things, and that's why we don't recommend specific things. Another reason would be if we are recommending a book that someone else has written or published, or if we are even more so recommending a website that we don't publish, and your child goes to use that website to look up something, and that website has suddenly been changed into something awful. We don't want to be the ones who have recommended that website to your child. So we would leave that up to your discretion. I know when my kids were still growing up and being homeschooled here, we had a filter on our internet so that if they did use the internet, things that we didn't want them to come across were filtered out. But we also had all of our computers in a very open area that I could see exactly what everybody was doing on the computer at any given time. So with that said, no, we do not recommend specific things. So then what do we recommend? We recommend that you use whatever you're comfortable with. And again, that's going to vary from family to family. Some families, like I said before, will use the internet exclusively. Whether they want to filter on it or not, that is up to that family to decide. We do not recommend specific filters or specific websites. I'm sure those filters have changed since my kids were younger. My kids are all adults now, obviously. So the other question is, or the other part of that answer would be that some people don't want to use the internet at all, and instead they like to have on hand maybe an old set or two of encyclopedias that they've gotten at a thrift store. The science and the history courses that we publish, the answers that the activities that the child will be researching and writing about each week are very open, and this is why we don't have answer keys. The answers are going to vary from child to child. The point is to get the child researching and finding out answers and coming back out with them in their own words, kind of like a written narration, so to speak. But also, so the information as far as different types of plant classifications and historical facts, dates of battles and generals from that war, whatever. That information is not going to change. And so that is information that you can easily, a lot of it, find in a set of encyclopedias, good old-fashioned encyclopedias. And some people will have an online encyclopedia that they use. But again, there's people that don't want to use anything online with their children. And so they might go to, now I have 3 sets or 4 sets of encyclopedias that I had collected over the years. And I started homeschooling back in 1986 and finished in the year 2000. So, I mean, that was a lot. I'm sorry, not in 2000, 2020. But anyhow, I had a lot of years to collect books for my kids. And I collected those encyclopedias. Some we bought brand new when they actually were still being sold brand new. I don't know if they still are or not. And some I found at a thrift store. We had a set of science encyclopedias for kids that I had gotten at a thrift store or a used bookstore years ago. And I still have those. I save that kind of stuff for my grandkids who are going to be homeschooled. My oldest grandchild is 3, so not quite there yet. But so anyhow, others still will go to the library each week. They'll look ahead and see, oh, this week we are going to be studying different types of rocks. And so let's go to the library and get a stack of books about rocks. And they bring those home and use those for their research. And then the following week, they take those back and go get books on storms or whatever it is that they're going to be studying that particular week. And others will use an eclectic approach and use multiple different sources, such as a little of this from encyclopedias, a little of this from library books, a little bit of online stuff. And that's what I did with my kids. My initial plan was to not have them use the internet at all, even though we have a publishing company here and we've always had multiple computers because we've got multiple things going on those different computers at different times for Queen Homeschool Supplies, but also for homeschooling in general. And so my kids were free to use those for their schoolwork at times. But also I had started building a massive collection of children's books for my own kids when I was a kid. So, I mean, I started many years ago collecting books for my future children, and I still have the majority of those books because now my grandchildren, I was just reading to my little granddaughter Annie yesterday from that collection. So, books are classic. Good books, good living books are classics. And I want to hold on to those because they're valuable and they're not always still being produced. So my kids had that library and still have it for their own kids, accessible to them at all times. And I wanted to encourage them to use them if we had books on the subject matter that we were studying that week. And we have quite a wide variety in our personal home library of tens of thousands of children's books on every subject imaginable. But not everyone does, and I fully realize that. It takes up a lot of space in my home, and it took a lot of money to build that, and a lot of years, decades even, to build that. So that's not something that everyone has access to, but everyone probably has access to a public library with interlibrary loan and can go to the library and get books on any specific topic that they are looking for to study. So whether you want to use the internet exclusively, whether you want to use the library exclusively, whether you have a home library like I do or a set of old encyclopedias that you want to use to have your child do the researching for those Discovering Nature and Science courses and the Discovering History courses, or whether you want to combine those sources and use a wide variety, the choice is yours. Like I said, the answers are, for the most part, answers that will be more of find out about this and tell what you know, tell what you find about it. It's not going to be specific things that they have to have a specific answer that they can only find in one place. Not for the most part, they won't be. So something to keep in mind if you're using those courses, you can see samples of each of the books in those series on our website at queenhomeschool.com just by clicking on the title that you want to look at and then clicking on, I think it says see a sample or view a sample right under that, and you can have a free week's worth of curriculum there to print out and give it a try. But it'll give you an idea looking at those samples or some of the flip through videos here on our YouTube channel that will show you what those books are like inside, and you'll see what I mean. If you've used them already, you know what I mean. And we have parents all the time that tell us, you know, oh, I was a little bit worried about what I was going to use for that, but then once we started using it, I realized that really it's very, very flexible as far as what we can use to research and find the answers. So I hope that answers your question, which is a frequently asked one that we hear. Please don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe after you've finished watching this video, so that you don't miss any future videos that we have coming up. I'd love to know what your frequently asked questions are that you would like us to answer in a future video. So feel free to comment that in the comment section below. Thank you again for watching.